Hey there, welcome back to SureFire Live. Thank you for joining me tonight. And it's another week of recovering from COVID. And I know it's out there. It's out there, and a lot of people are having it. And Tennessee is one of the, I think, number one places for transmission now. So it's just crazy. But I'm feeling a lot better. I got hit with it pretty good, and I was pretty tired was my main thing. But it's a weird disease, and things are better now. So thank you for joining me tonight. Two things tonight I was going to have a Brad Coulman on, who's a operations manager for Brickliners. And then I was talking to my friends, Carter and Taylor, and they were saying that only about 10% of the people or 15% of the companies had signed up for the new listings to leads program for CSI. If you're on the CSI website, you're a CSI certified sweep. This is very important that you listen to this first part of this broadcast, hopefully the whole thing. And Carter is going to walk you through, because we'll talk about it. So let me just bring Carter on. Hey, Carter.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I may have to blow my nose or something throughout this whole thing. But so let's, I saw a thing by Steve Jobs a long time ago. He said, just when you're tired of telling people how to do something is about the time they start to hear it. And I know we've talked about this for probably the last 30 days, not super heavy, but pretty heavy. It's been on a lot of social media things and Facebook and emails, but we still only have about 15% of the CSI certified sweep companies go in and update their information. So with that being said, let's just start from the beginning. Tell everybody what this is. Yeah. And then if you want to walk through like my company and sign up, or if anybody's on there and said, hey, take my company and do it, let's do that, because it's very important that everybody that wants to be found on CSI site does this.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So listings to leads is really a replacement for the way that the CSIA website search works right now. So right now, anybody can go onto the CSIA website and do a search by zip code, and they'll be shown a list of certification holders. But nobody knows if those certification holders work for a company, or, I mean, it's hard to tell, and it's a little bit convoluted, and it's a little bit difficult to get a hold of people if you want to get their, you can find their contact information, but sometimes it's a technician's phone number and not the phone number for the business. And where does the lead go? Some people don't even know. And so there's been a lot of confusion around it, a lot of, just needs to get cleaned up. It needs to be made better. And one of the other benefits really for people who sign up and enhance their listing with all of their company information is you're going to be able, your search for your listing on the CSIA website will hopefully start showing up in search results when people are searching for chimney sweeps in your area. So now it's one more place for you to be visible when people are searching for what you do in their market. So we're really excited about it.
Well, just to let everybody kind of know, one, it used to be like a circle, like a 50-mile radius or a 100-mile radius, and we all know that nobody works like that. Two, there'd be times that people would say, hey, I service this zip code right next to me, but it won't show up because it's another state or whatever. And you guys have developed a much more comprehensive, and you can pick all the services you provide, right? So I know you're going to get into that, but those are the big things that we're like, this search can be so much better.
Yeah, and it needs to be better. I mean, we really think that it's a missed opportunity, and not only for for certification holders and for companies who have certification holders, but a real missed opportunity for consumers. I mean, one of the things that I've heard, and I totally disagree with, is that being certified hasn't really added much benefit to my business because people don't care about whether or not I'm certified. They don't even know what we do.
Right.
Okay, well then we got to fix that, right? I'm a marketing guy, so if the problem is nobody knows that the product that we're offering is the only product they should ever ask for, then we've got to do better work, right? So,
Right.
that's why we jumped in and decided really let's make this so that consumers can find exactly what they need on the CSIA website. What does that do for CSIA? It bumps it up in terms of credibility, and
Right.
that can help everybody.
Perfect. All right. So what do we need to do?
Yeah, so let me share my screen with you. We're going to walk through yours real quick. And let's see. Okay. So let me know if we can see. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Cool. So this is, you're going to log in when you come in to your site, to the new Listings to Lead website. You're going to log into it, and you have to have a login because you're going to be managing, data about your business that we don't want your competitors being able to get in and junk it up or mess it up, right? So we want you to be able to control it. That's the reason that you have a login, and you'll be able to make some of these changes that are going to impact the way that you show up in search. Okay.
Well, so to clarify that, you would have gotten an email, right? Everyone got an email this last week. What happens if they say, "Hey, I didn't get an email with this link"?
No problem. So we're going to share a link, and it's just real easy. It's search.csia.org, and we'll share that again here in a little bit. Search.csia.org/login gets you in. Okay, that's the login. And if you haven't created your login, if you can't find the email with the right link and everything, then don't worry about it. There's a little forgot password link right there underneath the login button. All you have to do is click that, and you'll request a new password for your email address. If you don't know what email address to use, it's the one that is listed as the main contact email for your organization in the CSIA database. Okay.
Right.
If you don't know what email that is, then just a quick call or an email to the CSIA staff. They'll be able to tell you which email to use.
Right. Good. Very good.
Okay. So then we're in, right? We've created our account, added our password. Now we're into this page and looking at what's going on. So if you have multiple listings, because Mark, we're looking at yours, you have multiple listings because you have you're doing business in multiple markets. We're just going to look at the one here in Tennessee. You'll have the ability to update your logo, and it's super easy just to take a logo file that's on your computer, drag it over into the screen, and upload that. And then it'll show up with your listing. And I'll show you why that's important. It really gives a good first impression once that's added. And then these are the next sections that we're going to look at, right? And we can just twirl them down when we look at them, and you'll see the specific information that we want. Maybe this is not exactly the way that your company name appears in the CSIA database, right? Maybe you used a parent company name or the actual LLC that's a little different, but that's not how you're known in your market. Well, that's okay. Now we can just put it the way that you're known in your market where you do business. Put it the way that people who are searching for you would recognize who you are. We can put any of the information here, like Smyrna, for example. Even though you're in Smyrna, Nashville is really the market that you're in. You serve more than just Smyrna, so we're going to change that to Nashville, Tennessee, and your phone number. If you can use whatever phone number you need to there. If you want to use a tracking number that's different than the number that CSIA has on file for you, if you're into tracking numbers and stuff, cool. Use a tracking number here. You have full control over that. Email address, website. This is the year that the business started, right? So the year that the company started. The reason that's important to add is because we're going to make it possible for people to search based on the number of years the companies have been in business. And if they want to sort the order of what they're looking at and the search results that they get back, they can do that just by looking at we'll do the math there for them and tell them exactly how many years you've been in business. There's an area here for you to add your description of your company, anything you want to say about you, anything you think that is relevant to your customers about the services that you offer, or how long you've been in business, and just an about us kind of snippet there. It's good to share that there. Okay, next up in the sections are services. And these are the main services that, just being in the chimney industry and doing so many, working with so many chimney services companies, these are the main services that we see over and over and over again. You may have a different service that you offer that's not in this list. If it's one that is a big chunk of your revenue and you feel like it needs to be in there, mention it to the office, CSIA, or email me directly. My email is on the screen there, carter@sparkmarketer.com. Make a good case for why you think it needs to be included, and we'll get it included for you. Okay, we don't want to exclude anyone that is doing business and who has certification holders, but these are the main ones. Okay, super easy to add. You just click to add them. They all start out gray like this with a little circle that's not filled in. Just click it. It turns it green, adds the check mark, and you know that it's selected. So these are all the services that you add. The reason this is important is because we're allowing consumers to specify what service they're interested in, right? So they don't want to see a whole bunch of listings for companies that don't do what they need done, and you don't want to get a bunch of leads for people who want you to do something that you can't do or won't do. So This is important to make sure that you have this updated. The next section is communities. This is a chance for you to tell the people in your locality what areas of town you serve. And we want this to be a place where they can see the things that mean something to them, right? Like, I could never describe what Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the little burbs and markets there, very well. So I'm not even going to try, but you have the ability to do that. Like, for example, Mark, I noticed that you don't have any communities here in your listing yet. So, meaningful names for areas in our market might be like East Nashville, West Nashville. I can just say Smyrna.
Well, Brentwood, Green Hills, Hillsboro, all those little communities you're talking about.
Exactly. So let me just add a few here. We'll just add the obvious one first. And you'll notice that I'm adding just one per line.
Okay.
You can also do it as a comma separated list. So just add a comma between each one, and it's automatically going to take those out and put them on a list. But it's real easy just to do it all on one line. So you said Brentwood, let's say Smyrna, East Nashville, which is a neighborhood that's very proud of itself. I know, because I used to live there.
Nolensville, Hendersonville,
Owensville. Okay, those are just a few. We'll stop there. So now once I've got my list, I just come over here and click add. It's going to crunch for a second and then add those down here at the bottom. So now
nice.
Them is separate on its own, on its own. The reason this is important is because we use this information as SEO experts to make sure that all of the machinery and the monkey works and stuff behind the scenes adds up to helping you show up for people who are doing a search in Google and saying, chimney sweep in Brentwood, Tennessee, right?
Right.
So now you have a chance of showing up in a search result like that.
I love that. Also, for us, sometimes in the summertime, we will expand our zip codes. We will go further if we're slower. And then in the wintertime, we compress. And it looks like you could add and edit that. I could edit that along with our, like we do it with Google AdWords and stuff sometimes too. We compress zip codes. And so this is a great way to kind of do the same thing.
Absolutely. Super easy with your login to just come back in and say, you know what, right now we're not going up to Hendersonville. So I'm just going to uncheck that, remove it from the list. Later on, you can go back and add it again if you want to.
I love it.
Zip codes are the same thing. Now, the reason zip codes, and they're a bit of a pain to add, and I get that. I'm hearing from a lot of people that are saying, it's really easy for me to get my zip code list. I just go straight to QuickBooks and do a full export of my entire customer list and sort it by zip code. And I just run right down the list in a CSV file, grab them all and throw them in here. So that makes it easy. There's a nice little tool here too that I'm linking to. You can go and I'm not going to show it to you right now, but it's an easy way to find out what zip codes in your market that you serve. And once you have the list, then you just put them in here. I mean, 5-digit zip codes. It also works for those of you in Canada. Our Canadian sweeps, you can put in the zip codes, your 6-digit or 6 alphanumeric character zip code as well, or postal code, and it'll work as well. So, but just one per line or add a comma in between, and then you'll create your full list here. And I know, just based on what I know about your service area, Mark, you should probably have about 40
50
or 50 of them. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I know Tabitha was just starting to do this for us, so I see that we got a lot more work to do.
Sure, yeah. And so once that's added, then you can always click to remove them as well. But that's that.
Perfect.
Second to last thing is your location team. Okay. This entire listings to leads system is built for people who have current certification holders. So if you used to be certified and you haven't been in years and nobody else in your business is certified, this program isn't for you. This is for people who have up-to-date current certifications with CSIA. And if you do, or if you have somebody working for you who does, then they will show up in this list. And you can see here that there's 2 people who just recently expired, Bill England and Shane Jenkins. And so right now they're grayed out. I can't click on them. I can't add them to a listing. So it prevents me. Now, if you go back and they were new, or if they're still with you and that just hasn't processed yet, then the next time I sync with the CSI database, they'll show up as options to be able to add.
Okay.
So you can choose as many or as few as you need to for each location. And once they're all added and everything looks good, then you're done with that section. And the final thing is where the magic really happens. Okay, this location settings here. There's a little toggle button that says include this listing in the listings to leads program and receive interested consumer leads. This is where this becomes a really powerful lead engine for you to send you leads directly to your business, but you've got to opt into it. Okay, so make sure you check this to green, and then down here, tell us exactly how you want these leads to be delivered to you. So email and text are the 2 options. I know some guys like to run it all from their phones in the field, and that's cool. We give you the ability to do that. So if you want to text because it's faster for you to respond from the top of a roof, then just tell it you want text and give it the phone number that we can text you the lead, and we'll do that. So anytime a customer or consumer is on the CSI website, they're doing a search and they say, yeah, I'd like to hear more from this company, and they provide their contact details, then through the system, you get contacted with those details to be able to contact the customer yourself and turn them into your next customer.
Man, this is awesome. I know this was an idea we had a year ago or so in one of our board meetings, and you guys said, I think we can do it, and you guys have done it. Couple quick comments. Bart Ogden says, those Spark Marketer guys have huge offices, big boss style. And Luke Curley says, it is easy and better. Everybody should do it. 15% is ridiculously low. I agree. I was talking to Carter earlier, and I said, in the past, CSI, you really haven't had to do anything. If you just pass the test and you pass classes, your icons showed up and your email showed up. And this is the first time we're really asking everybody to go in and help us be proactive and do something about it. So we're going to have to get everybody on board so this thing really works. But those who are signed up for it, it should really change the leads. I mean, if nothing else, if you just take education off of CSI, this becomes one of the strongest marketing tools that you have out there with customers that want chimney people. They want to know that you have certifications, and then they're going to be sent directly to you, which is going to be really different. And then Alan Rush says, awesome stuff, guys. Huge improvement from the current system. Yeah, couldn't agree more. What else? What else do we need to know?
Let's see. The dates that this is going to actually launch, we can go over that real quick.
Okay.
So September 27th, which is it's Monday. It's the start of Chimney Safety Week. And that is the day that it's going to go live on the CSIA website for the first time, so consumers will be able to interact with it, search, and leads will be possible at that point. Right now, we're focused on getting as many chimney sweep owners and companies into it to fill out and enhance all their listings so that everything is ready to go when we take it live. Right? There's nothing happens in the restaurant before the tables and chairs are put in place.
What happens if people aren't signed up? What will happen? They just don't get the leads. They'll get a basic one. Yep. They'll just get the basic thing.
That's right. Certain information the CSIA already has on file for organizations who have certification holders. And that information is bare bones. I mean, it's basically the name of the company, maybe an email address and a web address, almost always a phone number. And that's
like one zip code?
Yeah, one zip code, which is the zip code of the business. So think about it this way. If you don't sign up, then when people are searching for you, you're going to get your listing will show up, a basic listing, no logo, no service areas, no services selected, just your name and some kind of contact information there will be visible to people who search for that one zip code that you, where your office is located, where your address is located. So it really is important to fill out all the other stuff.
So tell me real quickly on the other side, the customer facing side, if I'm a customer and I go on and I do this search, what comes back to me as a customer?
Yeah, I wish I could show you that part right now. I'm not set up for it, unfortunately, but it's a great question. So it's going to look a lot like a Home Advisor search or a Google search where, somebody's going to be able to enter in their zip code, right? The one zip code where they live, where they're interested in having service done. And then our site now returns all of the companies that serve that zip code. And they'll be able to scroll through a kind of an abbreviated listings, just however many there are on the page, and look at that and decide. They can click on any one of them to open up the full profile to see everything that company has on their listing. But otherwise, it's just a really abbreviated kind of version, sort of like a search result in Angie's List or Home Advisor or any of them.
Right. Great. Man, thank you so much for joining us and telling everybody about it. Is there anything else we need to go before we let you go?
I just want to encourage everybody, please don't let technophobia or any other reason, we're getting into busy season, but you're only going to get busier. Now's the time to take care of this and get it done so it can be working for you. If there's anything I can do to help, my email address is right there. Make sure you contact me. I'd love to help you get this going for you. We want to make this industry even stronger, and we want people to find out about you because you've spent time, money, and effort to get certified. Let's make sure that people understand how important that is.
Oh, beautiful. All right, Carter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate
it. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Feel better, man.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, this is big stuff. I think it's going to be a game changer. I think it adds value to your certification. It helps customers find more qualified people instead of just Google ads or the map pack. This is a more qualified lead that comes to you, and anybody that does other paid for click lead services knows that those can be anywhere from $8 to $30 for a lead, and these are all free. It's going to work very similarly, especially the more people add to our system and add to the search results. It makes the CSIA's results show up better, from what I understand. So thank you again, Carter. All right, so my next guest is Brad Coulman. I actually barely know him, but a friend of mine, Jake Lawford, I got a little brain fog, I think, said, man, you've got to talk to Brad. He is an operations manager, and I think there's a lot of people that watch the SureFire Live, and that will get a lot out of talking to him. So, also real quick, Chad Murray says, I'm in the house. Chad, glad you're with us, brother. So let me bring on, hey, Brad, how are you?
Wonderful, Mark. Thanks for having me. Nice to see you and Chad both recovering as gracefully as we could hope through that crazy virus. So,
man. Yeah, it's real. It's very real. It can kick your butt. Somebody said COVID brain. I've heard about this thing called COVID brain. I think it's a real thing. It's like a fog or like a something that happens to you. So hopefully it's temporary. But so Brad, we have a lot of people that listen that are not necessarily owners. They're also managers. They came along with, working for somebody, and they've fallen into this chimney world backwards. Tell us how you got into it, kind of where you started, kind of what you do now, and let's just start a conversation.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Mark. It's a great forum to be able to discuss this stuff. You've had some wonderful guests and content, and hopefully this story can help out people coming up in the business and or business owners find their next person to help keep their plate clear. So, like you said, like a lot of you, I kind of stumbled into this business. It was post 2008 market blow up. Jobs were being slashed. I just needed some employment, kind of stumbled around for a little bit, and happened to fall into Brickliners' door. And I was immediately excited about the opportunity to have a physical job, do a little bit of investigative work, certainly communicate with the customers and educate them, and saw a lot of room for growth just within our business, and I would like to think the industry. So I started off just as a capable physical set of hands as a helper. So I was able to learn the business really from the ground up. And then through some openings that were unbeknownst until that morning, I was able to hop into a sweeping and inspecting and estimating position. And there was this gap of, I didn't do it like the guy before me, and I wasn't sure how the guy next to me was doing it. So really started to open my eyes to the importance of standardizing the experience. It's not a Mark Stoner experience. It's not a Brad Coulman experience, but it's an Ashbuster experience. It's a Brickliners experience, and something that could be duplicated, something that could be taught and again standardized. So really enjoyed being a sweep. Really enjoyed the rapport building with customers. And then I had an incident where I slipped off a roof. I had some personal stuff going on. I wasn't prepared equipment wise. I could sit back and play armchair quarterback about why it happened, but the fact is, I fractured some bones in my spine and kind of had to reevaluate who I was, what I was bringing to the table, and again, kind of stumbled into this role of, well, you're not physical enough to slug a ladder around and get on top of a roof, but you know the business, you know the parts and components, so why don't you order some materials for us and kind of mind the shop? So that got old quick, and that can be replicated with people maybe who are don't have their sights set on something else at the moment. So navigated to, why don't you start scheduling repairs? And hey, you apparently like to talk, so why don't you do a meeting that gets everybody on the same page? And you know how these things go, Mark. A small, simple idea snowballs into something that just makes sense on a lot of levels. So let's hold a meeting. Let's share one guy's experience in the field so we can either duplicate that or steer clear of that situation. And thankfully, only one person had to go through it, not the entire company.
So it sounds like you start off in one direction, and as you know, business and life handed you something different, you and Jake kind of agreed to move with it and develop a role. Real quickly, I got a couple comments about you already. Brad is the rock star of rock stars. Love that dude. One of my most favorite people I've ever had the pleasure of working with. That's a lot with Alan. He's worked with a lot of people. And Chad said Brad is awesome, and Chad also says Brad is intuitive to people. He's technical and culture. Everyone needs a Brad. So those are some good guys right there saying good stuff about you. So clearly they've seen this thing about you, and it sounds like one, I think Chad hit it, you being intuitive as to what the company needs. And how important has that been for you in your role?
Super important. I would imagine on any scale of a business, there's a role to be had, a hat to be worn. But as the seasons navigate, there's slow, there's busy, there's slow and busy. You kind of got to be able to adapt, and it's so easy to get stuck in. I'm the sales manager, so I'm just going to handle front end stuff when there could be clear deficiencies on the repair end or the back end of things. So doing this year 9 now, just being able to identify where things could be short, the predictability of the business, and just being able to plug a hole long enough to get the right people in the right place and continue to move forward.
So let's talk about your role for a second. What is your actual role title? And then what do you make happen? Main reason I'm asking this question is if other people are listening, they're like, I need a Brad, I need a guy that does that. A lot of people say, well, what's the job title? What's the job description? So could you kind of explain kind of what that is for you in your role?
Yeah, currently my position and title would be sales manager. So I look ahead at the sweeps, talk to the guys about the opportunities, follow up on how the experience for Mrs. Smith went, and then I'll ask them how they thought the experience went. I think it's important to, when we're in somebody's home, to read how our customers enjoying or not the experience. So really just what I enjoy about this business is the people game and understanding you can do a systems-based inspection and sales process, but you need to understand your audience in the same breath. So to have both eyes kind of in two different places has been super important. So amongst other things, I track our numbers, see how many times we're proposing in the home, how many times we're closing in the home. And from that data, thank you, Alan Rush, very much. I think another moral of the story is we all need a coach on various levels. Thank you, Chad, for keeping me in check and helping me help the guys not ask the same repetitious questions. So running numbers, and then you can identify from that data where people are deficient, where they could be brought up, elevated. And I think it important, and just from my own experience, to have somebody help hold a mirror in front of you to see how you're doing, good, bad, or indifferent. And Jake was a big part of that for me. Alan helped refine that. Chad is continuing that process. So one, I never think I have it all figured out. I'm always open for feedback and therefore seeking coaching and that kind of tutelage. And two, listening for feedback from the guys I deal with on a day-to-day basis. It's not
That's
a one-way street.
Also, I can't tell who this Facebook user was. Says Brad's experience makes him very safety aware. I love that. So let's talk about culture. And Jake and everybody that knows you, they feel that you bring a lot to the culture. And a lot of companies right now are struggling having employees come, employees stay. They're losing a lot of people. Like, what's your role in that? And why do you feel that would be important?
Yeah, it's super important. I used to dub myself in the construction trades, coworker relations. That was my department. This is a team effort. There's no one person in any group in this industry that just moves the needle and everybody else can kind of take a back seat. It really is a team culture around here. And you can't build that if you don't care about your people. I inevitably have to take emotional withdrawals from people's bank accounts. So I spend a lot of time making emotional deposits. So I was asked to categorize what kind of manager I am. And I look at myself as an emotional banking manager to keep an eye on how I understand Alan's sales process wonderfully. What gets in the way of that is stuff at home, how I'm feeling, the weather of the day. So to help people control what they can in their life to better be able to handle the inevitable things that they can't control that come at us on a daily basis and how to navigate that tide. And so it's constant communication and checking in. I believe that gives an air of I care about you. And it is it has produced a beautiful group of family around here, and it's not of people of the same background who all hunt for the same trophy or fish for the same trout. But we all understand we have a common goal here. We're all individuals. What moves your needle? Let me get to understand you better. So this to me and our Brickliners family is more than just a job. It does start with that family and team type of care and atmosphere.
It really does. Looks like Jake says Brad does way more than that. He's always coaching up the guys, not only on sales but on life. So I think that's where that's the secret sauce. Where you can have sales goals and you want to coach people because you want them to have more opportunity and change their life, because this chimney opportunity is amazing, but there's a whole nother side of it where I always say a lot of guys haven't had a strong, role model in their life, male or female, and they come in and sometimes work is sometimes the strongest, most normal thing in their life. There's barriers, there's accountability, there's strong leadership, there's something you're supposed to do, and then sometimes when they go home at night, it's all crazy. And so how important do you feel that your role is as a mentor to these guys is?
It's tough to self-proclaim, Mark, but I've been called the glue around here. It's super important. Work is great, and like you said, there's a structure, there's a set of expectations, there's a job description. I mean, it's pretty clear what you need to do on a day-to-day basis. And for a lot of people, that does get more challenging outside of work. So to check in to understand why someone might be late. In my blue trade experience in the construction world, you weren't asked why you were late. You were given an opportunity to prove you could show up on time thereafter or find a new job. Right. That was effective for me as a young 20-year-old. I have understood in my adulthood how that is a detriment when approaching people, generally speaking. So to be able to, hey, how did Mrs. Smith go yesterday? And hey, I've noticed you don't have as much pep in your step. What's going on, man? Fantasy football, right. You've been staying up too late. The misses have too long of a honey-do list. Talk to me. It really does come from a place of, I feel like I've worn a lot of shoes that most people either find themselves in or have been at one point in their life. So to be able to immediately empathize and then give a version of how this could change with a little bit of self-effort and continued persistence.
Well, it sounds like it's a passion of yours too. It sounds like when I was talking to Jake about this, it's something you actually want to do outside of work as well, like some life coaching or some culture building with other companies. Is that kind of what you want to do, or you are doing that already?
Absolutely. Something I strongly desire to do. I've been doing it within this company for many years now. Was doing it on an amateur level without even really a title or knowing what I was doing. And to reflect, I couldn't have got here without a Jake, without an owner seeing something in a punk that just needed a job. He was able to hold that mirror up. He allowed me to borrow that confidence. So I would speak to the business owners listening to this that Brads aren't unicorns. They're out there. They're in your business. And sometimes it just takes an owner believing in them, sending and or investing in them with training, conventions. Here's a book to read. I hated reading unless it was assigned, and I still hated it. But to find growth through, downtime reading has been a huge part of my success. So I would like to help those ones in a business who know they're capable of more, or the business owners who see something in that young technician who need some help guiding them to bring them up and elevating them. I can speak to a lot of situations and help identify areas where they can be brought up in this industry and go from a punk, low paid helper to a guy who sits in an office and enjoys talking life and relationships with people.
So a lot of owners that you hear about kind of have a hard time connecting sometimes with maybe the newer generation of workers. And for me, we've got a lot of younger generation workers, and they're amazing. But I watch some of the things they have a really hard time connecting. And a lot of us in this chimney business have been in a very long time, very long time. And then there's a middle kind of generation. There's a noob generation, as we talked about on this show, and it's really fascinating to see it. But for some of the people who are struggling with getting people to come work for them or stay working for them, what do you think would be important for people to know?
I think it's important to know your people. I think it's important to know what makes them tick. I think it's important to know what they do on their off time, not in an invasive way, but hey, young 20-something, what are you up to this weekend? That's a bunch of clues that lead to many questions and or stories by simply putting the ball in their court to relay some information to you. I have an 18-year-old son. I don't know half of the slang he uses. I don't know half of the programs he's watching. But I ask, I'm informed, and now I'm actually able to speak to my Tyler, my 20-something Tyler, about the latest TikTok trend. I don't have the app, but I understand what's going on out there. So just being self and situationally aware to, like you said, these different generations and or to simplify it, just people are always interested in different things.
I completely agree. I think to me, it's fascinating to find out what they are into. And I have some guys when I walk by, I might talk hockey, other guys who might talk cars, some guys might talk guns, but I know this about them, and I watch them enough to know also when they start to pull back, because I think you mentioned it before. I think one of the most important things for the owner and also managers is to watch what's happening, watch what's not being said in a business. I think if you're really emotionally intelligent and you can watch these things when a guy is normally a certain way and he's pulling back, or his numbers are changing, or something's changing about him, it's a great time. It's sometimes the most valuable time is to be cognizant and reach in and say, hey, what's going on? And so how often do you have meetings, and how often do you kind of pull guys to the side and check up on them in that way?
Yeah, I have meetings every morning. It might not be with everybody. Sometimes it's in a group setting. Sometimes it's who's got the most complicated estimate. Sometimes it's the person who's got their head down and isn't greeting people in the morning. So it's a daily thing in the morning. To try to lead by example, I don't want my techs coming back and seeing an empty office chair. So I do make it a point to stick around, check in about their day, and then what's going on after work? What are you up to? What's getting you excited? What's sending you home? What's procrastinating your return to home?
I think as important as anything is somebody to talk to when they know that they can call Brad, when they know that you are open. And sometimes as business owners, we don't have time, especially as the company gets bigger, it gets harder to be able to be available. But I've got in my company, I've got a Kevin. Kevin he's the ears of, kind of between management and the people. And he's a good hearted guy, and he wants to build good culture. And I think the fact that you are the ears for the guys, and you can also have a direct talk, to the owner. He said, Brad's aren't unicorns. Great comment, Brad. It's all about leadership. So what else tell me about what else is going on with when you guys bring people on. What's your training process like? If I'm going to come work for you, how does it work with Brickliners?
Yeah, what an evolution. It's very different from when I started. It was here. If you want old information, go look at the carbon copies that are in the old file cabinet. Maybe there's some pics, maybe there's not. So for now, we really focus on getting out the door, getting prepped, owning what you're responsible for in the day. That's something I hate required reading. I love it, but I hate it because of the name. So right now we're working with the guys via a book by Jocko Willink about extreme ownership.
That's a good
And
one.
so when somebody gets hired on, we talk SOPs and safety and equipment and get familiar with this. And here's a cut diagram of a fireplace and chimney, because I had no idea how one was constructed when I started. Visual tools are super helpful. But I make it very clear, listen, I will help you with whatever's going on. If you approach me with, Brad, I may have made an error, or Brad, I messed up. Here's the situation. What can we do? But if you come at me with Jimmy did this, Sally did that, Mrs. Smith was not pleasant today, I am less apt to hear what your problem is. So we work on what do you own, because for good, bad, or indifferent, you are responsible, Mark, for sitting right here in that chair, me right here, and whatever, Tyler, your situation is, you have some ownership in that situation. So I I believe most people can learn the chimney business. We can learn how to sweep a wood stove. We can learn how to fill out an inspection report and build an estimate. But how do you handle stress? How do you handle difficult situations? That is what I give a preview to the new people about. I say inevitably there's going to be a situation. You're not going to like it. Let's see how you handle it. Own your part of that equation, and I will help you with the rest.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, the Extreme Ownership book. If you're listening and have not read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, excellent book. It's a great team building book, and it changes your thought process about how much you should be responsible for. When you hear what these guys had to be responsible for, it was almost impossible. But they take it and they show you in business how you can kind of take advantage of that thought process. So why, Brad? So you said you were a punk kid when you got into this. How does a punk kid find your footing and really enjoy this, and then also go to the next level trying to coach other people? Like, what about this business did you like that much to kind of dive in?
Yeah, no, great question, Mark. There's so much to love in the chimney business. For me, it was the gratification of, I was up on a roof for 8 hours. I tore down a chimney. I rebuilt it. I'm proud of it. And here is a visual representation of my efforts today. So that kind of immediate gratification. We live in a beautiful state, and most of which I would never see unless I was in this industry. To go to 3 to 5 different houses and locations throughout Vermont to see how people live, to see ideas about architecture, about landscape, learning about that person's trade, business, profession was very intriguing, because what I thought I knew about people and professions vastly grew once I got to talk to our customer base. So the customer intrigue is another reason I love this business. Not a lot of customers are alike, so to learn something or have a light bulb come off in moments you wouldn't expect is amazing. So to see parts of the state converse, it's kept my interest.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Brad. One of the things I loved about the chimney industry was getting to know so many people and getting to know what they did and what makes them tick. And like you said, you can have like one set of ideas about why rich people are this way or they're that way, and then you get to know them, and it's completely different. A lot of times, I found that the richest people, there's kind of probably something special about them, or there's something very different about them that once they open up, you're like, oh my gosh, they know. A friend of mine, one time we were driving up to a really wealthy house, and he was sitting beside me, and beautiful land, and it was on a lake, and beautiful house. And my friend said, this guy's got some answers to some questions. And I thought that's exactly right. This guy, and he did. He was brilliant. He's some type of an attorney, but he he was on a high level kind of a thing. But I think for me, I've learned a lot about people. And one of my guys who used to work for me later became a doctor. He said, Mark, when I was in people's houses with ashbusters, I wasn't good at talking to people until I had to talk to 4 to 5 people a day about all kinds of problems. And that ability to talk to people translated for him into another career as being a doctor. He said, I can unfortunately tell people the hardest stuff or have really good conversations with them because of what, chimney sweeping and all that customer service help. And so did you have a customer service background before you got into it, or did you just learn to love it?
Just learn to love it. It's I've always enjoyed relationships with people. I always feel like you can learn something from a stranger at a gas station to the rich guy in the house on the hills. So that intrigue just kind of expanded and blew up once I got into this industry, to be able to get into that many homes and, like you said, kind of get this rhythm of how to talk with people, and to be able to adjust. The conversation I had at the last house won't work here, but if I just pivot my hat and stand a little differently, I think we can connect here, Mrs. Smith.
Yeah.
So just understanding or just being aware of the dynamics of people, communication, relationships. I selfishly don't want to be forgotten. So I would like the conversation and rapport built to be genuine, where they're left smiling once they see my booties leave the door.
So let's talk about, well, Chad Murray says here, some kind of daily meeting brings everyone together. So we got about 10 more minutes on this. And so let's talk about if there's people that are thinking about having a Brad in their business. Talk to them about, and we kind of hit on this before, but what in your daily meeting, what happens in your daily meeting, like specifically, how long does it last? What are you trying to accomplish? And then what happens after that meeting?
Yeah, I approach the guys or the group knowing what they're up to that day. Usually the repair guys, I'm just inquiring, you all set? You make sure you brought A, B, and C. Again, not to be nosy, but just doing this long enough, I know the forgotten bell or the forgotten mixing tub.
Is this a stand-up meeting? Are we walking up? Are we sitting down? Like, what's happening?
Oh, great. Yeah, to paint a picture, especially in these Delta times, it's been in the parking lot at a safe distance, standing up, very casual, in a circular type of formation. So, Dave, looks like you're down at the inn doing a tear down. You all set? Great. Good. And once I get through my repair people, I'm talking to my sweeps and estimators about their routes for the day. Seeing if they found any previous information that would be helpful for whatever they're running into, because we have kept a good job keeping track of that info over the years. Discussing yesterday's appointments. How did that go? Well, I thought I did everything right, Brad. We talked about gardens. I showed her the scanner. But I just couldn't seem to get her to agree to the work or understand the scope of work. So then I have that tech share that experience. Well, really, how did the conversation go? Do you feel like you were organized? Was it scrambled? Did you take your time? Were you thinking about your next appointment? And then through that, I want my other guys to hear, oh, wow, he struggles with that too. Right. Okay. In a group setting, I really try to make it safe. I've lived in those environments where you're blasted for bringing up something that you're already vulnerable about. So, Hey, been there, Ethan. Totally get it. Thought I won the Sweep of the Year award at this person's house. Yet when it came down to signing a paper, is like we were strangers. Right. So let's talk through that, and to, again, just try to share some experiences in that group setting, because we can then all grow exponentially versus one person learning one lesson until the next one happens. So that's once good. That happens, it's like let's get some Jocko style. Get out of here. I love you guys, but I don't want to see you. And on with the day we go.
Yeah, that's great. Chad Murray says, Brad roundtables, love it, great job. Yeah, that is true. So let's wrap up with, what do you think? I love talking to like, to me, you're the next generation up guys. What are you excited about this industry? What are you concerned about? How can we do better? Like, what are some of the things that you think that you could see on the horizon that may be coming for us and that we could do better at?
Yeah, great question, Mark. And I would imagine Jake has jaded me a little bit, as he tries to stay on top of what we do better constantly. Should you be doing that? And can we do this better? So he's great with those repetitious questions over the years, Jake. Thank you. I'm excited because there is a lot of chimneys out there. There are a lot of homes out there. When we first started getting into this, we were so hyper focused on wood. And now with the growth of pellet, now with the knowledge about home heating and how destructive oil combustion can be to masonry structures, how destructive and corrosive gas combusting appliances can be to masonry structures. Mark, what excites me is educating the public and keeping them safe.
That's
There's
awesome.
a great slogan out there, keeping fire in its place. And that's really what we try to do. So that it's exciting. And then on the horizon, again, the Jaded with Jake thing is about technology. We have a beautiful software program we use for our inspections. We have all the techs have iPads. We got smartphones, which everybody should at this point. It's troublesome to go behind other sweeps that haven't gotten to that next level of technology.
And education. Yeah.
And education, it's hard, and no knock on the guys who have been doing it as many decades as I am old, but you can't educate on something you can't see. You can't see without a scanner. You can't see without getting on the roof. So again, to serve the community, which is why we are here, let's everyone up our game. Let's really check these things out, so we can be very descriptive in our analysis of this person's home heating needs and chimney needs.
Well, Jake said he wants you to talk about this. He says, talk about being a leader, not a savior, protecting your time and empowering the guys to level up. I think that's an interesting topic.
Yeah, he's speaking from a place of experience. So it's easy to fall into a savior complex. I'm needed. I can solve the problem. I know what you're going to forget. So let me look at your truck and make sure you got it. I'm here to save you. It is awesome. What an adrenaline rush. What a great feeling. The problem is it never ends. There's no off switch to that when you train your coworkers that they have someone to lean on. I'm there. I will listen to you, but you are capable of saving yourself. And this is how I suggest you do it. Whether that's, let's get to bed on time. Let's give yourself enough time in the morning for the misses, the cups of coffee, the walk of the dog, and then he runs off. Let's make sure we have time. Let's make sure we're showing up eager, greet ready, and not dragging baggage of yesterday into today. So I've gotten out of the savior complex trap and have found a greater benefit to leading people to helping themselves and identifying their issues and putting a progressive plan in place so we don't repeat the same thing.
Yeah, that's really good. That's a hard one, because when you become that savior, it feels good. It's like an ego thing. And a lot of owners, they hold all the keys to the castle close to them because they want everybody to have to come to them. And they don't like it when the people don't, come to them. But they want to have the guru, the firefighter, the teacher, and like you said, the savior. And so that's a really good point. And it's a lot more empowering to be that leader, but not the savior. You have to kind of watch them you don't want to get, especially if somebody's going to get hurt, you don't want that, but you kind of have to let them fail enough you can't be a helicopter leader all the time over top of everybody. It drives people away mainly.
Absolutely.
So Bart Ogden says, accountability and responsibility. It always comes back to that. Well, Brad, it's been great to talk to you. I'm sure Jake, he was so excited to have you on this show. And I know everybody wishes they could have a Brad in their company. And I think it's important that we learn to develop leaders. As leaders, we develop better leaders. And it sounds like you do that as well. Let's just end on what's some leadership books that you've read or some leadership things that you've done that have helped you?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, Mark. Again, I would say if I could only have read one book in my adulthood that has gained me the most traction in my professional and personal life, it would be Extreme Ownership.
Yeah.
It's hard to digest life if it's everybody else's fault or problem and you're just the victim. It's so much easier to learn and grow when you understand your role in the situation you're in. So to read that book, Mark, I have a hard time buying into some books that are, in my mind, trying to get me to think a certain way or to change my perspective. But the way this book is written and the inarguable truth of how operating with extreme ownership is really the only way to operate. It's not really a buying into anything. It's
Right.
a total shift in, I don't want to have my day dictated by the weather, how well I slept, whether or not the dog was quick on the morning walk. I want to be in control of those things. I want to be in control of how my day is dictated. So that to me was a very eye-opening book. As far as inspiring one from within, who doesn't love some Zig Ziglar, some Born to Win?
Yeah.
To just have somebody, a stranger, speak to you about you are capable, you can do this, was another wonderful book.
Yeah, Zig is hard to beat. Well, Brad, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you. And thank you for being a leader in our industry. And we'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. Likewise, Mark. Thank you much for the opportunity. Hope you continue to get well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Oh man, he was so great. I can see why Jake really wanted him, and the people who knew him, Alan and Chad especially, like good dudes. So if you're out there and you are, you're not necessarily the owner of the business, that's a perfect example of how you lead, but not being the owner. But you also have a big part of the company. You help the company go. You help develop leaders underneath you, and clearly there's a lot of satisfaction in what we do by helping others. Guys, that's my time this week. We will be back next week. Hopefully my COVID brain is a little more clear and feeling a little bit better. And I hope you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.